and the prophetic ministry is represented by this finger, because this is the finger we use to point to the future. The prophet points to the future. This finger, the middle finger, points to the evangelistic ministry. It is the finger that represents. It's the biggest finger, and it represents the seizing of a large number of things, which is what the evangelistic anointing does. And the pastoral ministry is represented by the ring finger, and the pinky represents the teacher ministry. So the index is prophetic, the thumb is apostolic, the middle finger is evangelistic, the ring is pastoral, and your pinky represents the teacher ministry. So when the hand was stretched out, it was a figure of the ministry endowments in Jeroboam. It's a figure of the ministers in the church using their ministerial calling to declare blasphemy, to make an accusation of blasphemy against those who speak in the Spirit against their altars. And it says that when he did that, his hand just froze, and he could not draw it back into himself. And the Bible makes a special effort to focus on that he could not draw it back into himself. What does that represent? Well, it represents what ministers who operate in the soul constantly do. They like to build the altars. They are very focused. They're tireless in building these ministries, these organizations, these visible religious structures. They are very focused on sacrificing. They not only demand it from others, but they do it themselves. Many of them, not all of them, but many ministers are very sacrificial, and they invest a lot of time in their ministry, and they do all these things. But most of the time they do it focused on the soul. But the problem is that they are not, their motivation is to build up a ministry and not to fulfill the purposes of God. And in doing so, what they subtly start to do, and it's a very subtle thing that even deceives them, the very person who is acting it out, is the fact that they begin to get everyone around them to work for their ministry. So the ministry becomes the end and not the means. The ministry, instead of being a way to give to others, to empower the spiritual potential of others, it becomes a way to get things from people in order to enlarge the monster, to give it more TV antennas, to give it more satellites, to give it more radio stations and more TV stations, so that the ministry can become bigger, and it becomes this big monster that starts just eating up all the resources that God's people are willingly giving to it day after day after day. And that's why the Spirit made sure that Jeroboam could not return the hand to himself. In other words, that he could not take for himself, which is what the soul ministries do. The Spirit ministries, the Melchizedek priesthoods, give and give and give. They are constantly focused on manifesting the purposes of God in other people. It is a self-sacrificial manifestation where your focus is God manifested in others, and not how big your ministry or how recognized your name may or may not be. And that's why this man of God was not after fame, was not after human recognition. He was after doing God's will. So much so that God made sure his name was never mentioned in this chapter. So the problem is that the ministers in Bethel, in the house of God, those who are operating in the soul, and as we've seen, there's a perfect correlation between soul behavior and the signs that are mentioned at the beginning. So this is talking about soul ministries. What soul ministries do is that they use the endowment, the ministerial endowment that God has given to them. They have a hand given by God, but they use that hand to draw things unto themselves, like black holes that just eat up everything that comes close to it. Then what happens here is that when the hand kind of dries up and he can't move it, which is a figure of sterility, of impotence, of inability to operate, which is what most ministries in the church really are. They may be big, they may have all this big outreach, but most of them are spiritually impotent. They're not doing anything in the spirit. So that's what's represented in the hand, just freezing. And the king then asks the man of God to pray for him so that he could, move his hand again. And the man of God, it says here, prayed, and his hand was healed. So let's go here. It says, and the man of God entreated the Lord, and the king's hand was restored to him, and became as it was before. And the king said to the man of God, come home with me, and refresh yourself, and I will give you a reward. And the man of God said to the king, if you give me half your house, I will not go in with you. So notice, once the king was healed, the first thing he tried to do was to grab that man of God and kind of eat him up. He wanted to swallow him up and make him part of his ministry. Why? Because he saw potential in this young fellow. He said, oh wow, this guy can do stuff. He made the altar crumble down in front of people. He made the ashes fall down to the ground. He even made my hand freeze, and I couldn't move it. This guy has something special. I need this guy. And this is what many ministers do. When they see somebody with a spiritual potential, a legitimate spiritual potential, they don't see that person in the sense of selfless appreciation and an interest in raising up or enabling the potential in that person. What they see is someone who can benefit their ministry. And that's what this man was doing, and that's why his hand was constantly just reaching out and grabbing onto himself, and that's what he was trying to do with the soul of this man. And the man of God said, no, I'm not going to do that. God said to me that I am going to, I'm not going to eat bread or drink water. It was commanded to me by the word of the Lord, saying, you shall neither eat bread nor drink water, nor return by the way you came. In other words, you are going to go there, do your thing, and then come back. You're not going to have any soul relationship with anyone there. I'm just sending you on a spirit mission.